My name is Bryan Dobler. I'm the chairman for WBC Muay Thai USA.
Okay, now, how, in your words, how do you describe the sport of Muay Thai?
Well, Muay Thai is it's an ancient sport. It's an ancient combat sport. It actually was originated on the battlefield in ancient Siam or Thailand now. The warriors would go to battle and they would be using swords and they would use shields and they would use spears and all these different things. But when a sword would break, they would find a way to utilize their body as a weapon. So, for instance, the sword, when you stab a sword at someone, that became a knee. And the knee would stab at somebody. And when you would, use the maisok, which is a wooden piece that would block swords, and you could hit people with it, that became the elbow. And so it's thousands of years old. And the Thai people would use this on the battlefield to defend their country against invasion. And eventually it became more of a sport with rules and regulations and gloves and all of these kind of things. Before, in the early days, they would have just a coconut and they would wait for it to fill with water. That was the round. Like, it could take who knows how long, They would wear a coconut shell for a groin protector, but the sport has now evolved to an international level. And
Also the hand wraps?
yes.
Rope, right?
Yes.
I've seen pictures with rope.
Yes, and there were different styles of hand wraps based on what region somebody was from. So, it's interesting. There's the fable about glue and glass. No, that wasn't true. That wasn't true. But they did have hand wraps with rope. They still do a form of that in Thailand called Muay Thai, which means like bare knuckle. Yeah.
Also, the roots, the rituals,
Yes.
the nationality. I mean, the pride of being a Thai boxer, right?
Yes, and that's the thing. There are a lot of sports that don't tie into, don't really have as deep a history or traditions as Muay Thai. And so Muay Thai ties all the way back thousands of years. And those traditions are still intact. Like, for instance, the Y crew. So Y means it's the respect. It's when Thai people do this, it's the same as shaking someone's hand. It's respect. It's a way of showing respect. And crew means teacher. So the Y crew is a dance that's done, pre-fight ritual that's done to show respect to the teacher. And when they do that, the boxer is warming up their body. They're looking for, any advantages in the ring because they'll walk around the ring. Yes, they're looking for lighting advantages. Is there any, soft spots in the ring? All these kind of things. So there's a lot more going on with that than most people realize. But it goes back to, a time when teachers would teach a specific Y crew to their camp, and you knew where a fighter was from by the pre-fight dance they did. Oh, you're from this gym, or you're from that gym. Now it's pretty common, and there's really no way to tell anymore. But there are different performances, different rituals, different Y crews or dances that are passed down from teacher to student, and they're different all around Thailand, all around the world. So there's many different versions of it. So it's beautiful. I started learning Muay Thai when I was 6 years old with Chai Sirasut, Ajahn Chai Sirasut, who was one of the first person to really teach it actively here in the United States. So I've been involved in Muay Thai for 50 years, almost all of my life. And yeah, I fell in love with it. But I'm a boxing fan too. That's when you said, hey, I'm becoming a Muay Thai fan. I love boxing. And I really think that the boxing fans would fall in love with Muay Thai too. I mean, what boxer doesn't want to just get an elbow in there now and then, you know what I mean? Oh, I know they do, I know. But that's actually legal in Muay Thai, So, I mean, it's called the art of 8 limbs because you've got 2 fists, 2 legs, 2 knees, 2 elbows. So art of 8 limbs. Yes.
Everything has a meaning, right? And
Yes. Well, there's a lot of boxers that will go and seal all of the corners of the ring. They seal it to the outside influences. They, there's some different beliefs in that, but it's also north, south, east, and west. It's also paying respect every direction, and so yeah, there's a lot to that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, like everything has a bit of a meaning, So yes, of course, the armbands they wear are called paw prachet, and they were originally, when the warriors would go off to battle, they would ask their mother or the monk to take a piece of their clothing. They would tear a piece of cloth and tie it around their arm. Maybe put some of their hair or something meaningful, and to inspire them to come back home after to get through the battle. So yeah, everything has a deep history and tradition in Muay Thai. And the fighting sport is, it's tremendous. It's action. It's everything. The entire body is used. It's exciting, So there's a lot to that side of it as well.
Yes, and also a lot of respect.
Oh yes.
Between them, a lot of respect for the culture, even for the things they wear.
Yes.
Like, they won't go in between the ropes like all the boxers do.
That's right.
And, all these types of things that are meaningful.
Yes.
In a very important spiritual way of the sport.
So, there's traditionally, a lot of those things were, Thailand is a Buddhist country, so a lot of those things were tied into religion, but they're not tied into religion really anymore. They're just tied into the sport. It's just for good luck and for, you wouldn't, you want to, if you have the mongkon, the headband, it's usually something that's more in high on the head. It's auspicious. You don't want that to go on the floor, or you don't want that to go under the ropes, because it shows like you don't care about it. So we go over the ropes because that's because we do respect that. And respect is very important in Thai boxing. In Thailand, the fighters fight very, very similar to here. A lot of them are coming up from poor regions. They're just trying to find a way out, and it's a job. It's a job for them. So when these guys go in and face each other and they go to war, it's a job. And when it's done, they can go eat together. It's just the job. They just did their job and they're finished, and that's it.
That's one of the questions I often ask boxers. How do you feel when you have to fight a friend? Because that's after all, it's a small world.
Yes,
they all know everybody.
Yes.
They all know each other. What are the feelings when you have a very good friend in front of you? Mm-hmm. Maybe a relative.
Well, like I said, it's a job, and in Thailand sometimes they'll be friends, but they'll fight several times, because if they're on that circuit, a lot of times, they'll fight and want to win, and then the other want to win, and then they'll put them together again, and they'll fight 3, 4, 5 times. So, nobody holds any real hard feelings or grudges. It's not it's not about ego, and the Thai culture is that way. So in Thai culture, and this is what makes their boxers so formidable, really, because in the Thai culture, they're taught from an early age to suppress outer feelings. They don't show their emotions. So when they're tired, you don't know. When they're hurt, you don't know. When they're excited, you don't know. They're just very calm. And so, you might hit them and think, look for a reaction. Well, you're going to be looking for a long time, because they just don't do that. They don't yell in public. They just don't show emotion that much. So it makes the Thai boxers very formidable. Yes.
And now let's come to the United States.
Yes.
What are the differences between Thailand and United States?
Oh, there's a lot of differences culturally and everything else. Like in America, a lot of people train in Muay Thai because they love it. In Thailand, the only reason to train in Muay Thai is because you're going to do it for a job, to make money, to help support your family. Like, there's no real desire to learn Muay Thai as a hobby. Now it's changing a little bit. There are, Muay Thai gyms that do, they have it for fitness, and they have superstars come in and training. It's starting to change, and also as far as being more modern. In America, we have a lot of females that participate in Muay Thai, and a lot of female athletes that compete in Muay Thai. In Thailand, there's not as many, and the reason is quite economical, really. The female boxers just don't make as much money, and so the camp doesn't want to spend that much time with them. Now, in Thailand, the boxers will live in the camp. So the camp just kind of like adopts them, and they live in the camp. And these kids come up in the camp, they make sure they get to school, they give them food and clothing, and these kids will fight for the camp, and if they win a purse, part of that money they can send back to their family. So, it's a very different situation, where here we have people who work a full-time job and then go in to learn Muay Thai because they love it, and because they want to learn it for self-defense or for fitness, and then some go on to want to compete. So it's a really different culture. We have a lot of female boxers now, and Thailand's changing too. WBC, Lumpini Boxing Stadium traditionally has not allowed any female fighters to compete there. Matter of fact, they don't even allow didn't allow females to come in. If they touched the ring, they would shut down the show. Like, it was a very big stigma for a long time. But recently, just last year, WBC had a title in Lumpini Stadium, the first female title in Lumpini Stadium in 100 years. So there's change happening all around the world. Muay Thai is changing. In Thailand, it used to only be stadium fights, but now there's entertainment fights. There's these 3-round fights that are fast-paced and more for entertainment. They use small gloves, and Muay Thai is changing. It's evolving, and I've been involved since 1972, so I've seen the entire evolution of the sport here in the United States. And so I'm seeing it change again. And now there's a lot of participation from our youth. And that's why the youth summer camp, the WBC Muay Thai Youth Summer Camp this weekend, was the first inaugural event, had 100 kids, 110 registrants. So, and we see that that's the future of our sport. And, if kids participate in this sport in a safe manner, in a way that they're protected and they have fun and they enjoy, then even if they don't go on to continue competing as a teenager or an adult, they become fans. And this is important. We need to build fans. We need to have people who understand the sport. Because in America, we have, the biggest problem we have is that every state has a different commission with a different rule set. It would be really hard to become a fan of football if every state had a different rule set, because how can you become a fan of a sport you can't understand? So, one of the challenges is to get people all on the same page about what are the rules. There's a lot of different organizations, and they have their different interpretations of the rules. With WBC, the rules come straight from Thailand, from the Sports Authority of Thailand. So that comes straight from the motherland. That's it. It's very simple, very clear, and we're hoping that we can start to implement some sort of a basic rule structure. If not rules, because organizations sometimes will have their own version of rules, at least scoring criteria. So if we can at least make scoring criteria standardized, so people understand how to score Muay Thai, then we can create fans, because then they understand the sport. They're like, oh, I understand that person won, or I understand that person won. Not like, why'd they win? You know, so that's part of what we're doing here is educating the youth, the future of our sport. And we've had multiple world champions here to work with these kids, to teach them technique, to teach them about the sport, and also, you know, to give them direct feedback on what they're currently doing. So, you know, we had them sparring, and these world champions were coaching these kids. And they were getting coached by these world champions. Those kids are going to take that to heart, believe me. And it was an incredible experience this weekend. We had great fights with Triumphant. That was an amazing card. We had a cultural where we taught the kids the white crew. We had in attendance the Royal Thai Consulate General. We had in attendance the Director for Tourism Authority of Thailand. We had in attendance Colonel Thanapon Paktapum, who is the Executive Secretary for WBC Muay Thai. Wow, I mean, what an amazing event. Yeah.
Has Muay Thai, WBC Muay Thai, adopted some of the WBC boxing rules, like the 24-hour?
Right. That's actually the great thing, is that we're tied directly into WBC. So, you know, the standards that WBC sets are similar standards to Muay Thai. Obviously, we have a different sport. It's a different sport, but a lot of the rules apply. For instance, for a title fight, they've got to check weight 30 days out. 30 days out, they have to send their weight to see if they're within a certain parameter, because we don't want people cutting weight and you know, risking their lives over it. And so, you know, a lot of those rules that can be adopted for safety are adopted into WBC Muay Thai here in the USA and abroad. Absolutely.
Do you also have anti-doping tests?
Yes, absolutely. So the clean boxing program is also part of WBC Muay Thai. Yes, absolutely. And again, it comes right through to us. So, you know, clean boxing program, WBC clean boxing program, WBC Muay Thai. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, it just, those kind of things just translate right across the board. Yes.
And how do you see the future in the United States for Muay Thai?
Oh, wow. You know, I've seen it change so much, and I'm seeing a really good trend. I mean, some of the talent that we've had here this weekend with some of these kids, and just how tremendously talented they are, I can see a bright future for the USA. It's going to take time, you know, it's going to take time, but we're here for the long run. You know, we want to build it right. For us, it's about quality, not quantity. So it's going to take time to build it right. And I don't have all the answers. I'll be honest, I don't have all the answers. But I've got a lot of good ideas and suggestions, and I've had a lot of input. I've called different countries, we've talked to different leaders in different countries. We're trying to figure out what is the solutions to some of the things that we're dealing with here in the U.S. What are some of the problems that other countries deal with? What are some of the things that we can learn from? And you know, we're going to build this thing one step at a time. And honestly, I don't have all the answers. I might make some mistakes, but I'll own those mistakes and I'll learn from them, and we'll grow from them. And that's what's important. You know, WBC Muay Thai and WBC, I mean, we're brothers, you know, and I hope that we're family. I hope that we can join together. I hope that boxing fans will become Muay Thai fans as much as I'm a boxing fan. And, you know, as much as I love Muay Thai, I'm a boxing fan. So I think boxing fans could really become fans of Muay Thai. And I think, you know, we have to work together. I think this is really important. So I'm really looking forward to that. It would be my honor to be there, for sure.
Well, all boxers in Thailand come from Muay Thai, right? I mean, they start in Muay Thai.
A lot, yes. Yes, many of the world champions in Thailand, the WBC world champions, started out their career in Muay Thai and just transitioned over. And that's the great thing, is that the boxing portion of Muay Thai is boxing. You know, it's really not any different. So it's great because boxing is part of our sport.
Yeah.
You know, we have other weapons, but boxing is really important in Muay Thai as well. So I had the privilege and the honor to be part of the Lumpini Stadium Night of Champions, where all these world champions, WBC world champions, came and they were honored by WBC. And my wife and I sat at the table close to where they would stage these athletes. And I would watch these champions as they looked up and saw the screen where they won their titles. And I could see the emotion on their face. And I could see how proud they were to wear that green and gold belt. And you know, that night really gave me the foundation for what I need to do with WBC Muay Thai in the USA. Because sometime before my time is over, I'd love to do that same thing here in the United States, where we have an event like that, honoring the WBC Muay Thai world champions from the USA, and having them stand just as proudly as those boxers before them, because WBC has set that standard, and I want to carry that through to Muay Thai in the United States. And that's my duty here.
Yes, absolutely. That's the work of the WBC, to protect the boxer.
Yes.
And that's a tireless endeavor.
Yes, and that's why we have the MDL as part of our initiatives here in the United States. So the MDL is a Muay Thai Development League, and I know you saw some of that yesterday. And it was just the kids, but we also do it with adults. It gives the beginning athlete a way to enter into the sport in a way that they're going to have a positive experience, whether they're 7 years old or whatever. And it's done in a way that keeps people safe, because longevity is important. We want them to have longevity in their careers, longevity as a fan, longevity for our sport. And so this is a fully padded match. It is a semi-contact match, which means that there is nobody's trying to knock anybody out. And there are no winners or losers. So they're graded based on their attributes. So they're graded on their balance, their positioning, their control, their accuracy, this kind of thing. So they're graded on attributes, and they get, you know, red needs a lot of work, yellow needs some work, and green means, hey, you did it great. And so they get this report card, and that's actually given to their coach. And the coach takes that back and can work with the boxer back at the gym on the things that they need to work on. That educates the coaches. It educates a boxer. They say, oh, I need to work on these things, and then they know what to work on. So it's a really fantastic thing. We've done thousands and thousands of them. We have not had any knockouts. So this is really important, because to get people involved in the sport, and to have people and parents allow their kids to do these things, we have to be very, very safety oriented. When they see them all padded, they see there's no head contact for children under age 12. And that's really important for us, because their brain is not fully developed until 12. So we want to make sure that we're really protecting them. They're padded up just in case. There's no head contact, but they're still wearing headgear just in case anything gets in. And so parents can see that. They're like, oh, you know what? I think this is fun. My kid had a great time. They leave, except they're not sad, oh, I lost. And you know, they go back with real information that they can use back in the gym. And so this is a very important initiative with WBC Muay Thai, because it's a safe way for boxers to enter the sport. And
it makes it a sport.
Yes.
Not just a
fight.
Not just a
Yes, exactly. And that's what we really are striving towards here in America, is we want more and more young people to say, Muay Thai is my sport. You know, experience keeps people safe. You know, so long as it's well regulated and done in a safe manner. But experience keeps people safe. So if they can gain that experience in that safe environment.
Turn the face flag, white. One day out, face forward, white. Swaddy Cop, bring it in. Let's go. Show me some love. Let's go. On the green and the goal. Ready? On three, WBC. Loud and proud, all right? 1, 2, 3, WBC! All right.
Yeah, you can find us on WBCMuayThaiUSA.com, WBC Muay Thai USA on Instagram and Facebook as well. So that's the best way to get information. Right now, we're currently setting up our ranking because we believe in WBC is very, very good about ranking and keeping excellent records and ranking. So we believe that that's an important part of our sport. And so right now we're seeking out all the boxers in the U.S. to submit their rankings, submit their information for rankings in the WBC. There's a form on the website for boxers to go in, put all their information in, and what that will do is that will help us gather the information. We also don't have record of a lot of the former champions, so we're kind of starting all over. So if there's former champions out there, if they submit their information, we can at least get that on the records, and we'd love to do that so that we can honor them as well. So we hope people will go to WBCMuayThaiUSA.com and submit their information for ranking in the WBC Muay Thai USA.